In 1949, the United States became the stage for one of the most enigmatic and sinister cases ever recorded in the history of the supernatural. It all began in a seemingly ordinary way when a 14-year-old boy, known by the pseudonym Roland, began to experience disturbing situations shortly after the death of his aunt. This aunt was the closest person in his life and, according to reports, had a fascination with spiritualism, teaching Roland how to use an Ouija board to try to communicate with the beyond. What initially seemed like innocent curiosity quickly turned into something sinister. With the sudden passing of his aunt, strange events began to invade the Doe family home. Objects moved without explanation, scratching noises echoed through the walls at night, and metallic sounds emerged out of nowhere. At first, everyone believed these were coincidences or childish pranks, but as time went on, the episodes grew in intensity, leaving visible marks on Roland's life. The feeling that something invisible, something malevolent, had infiltrated his world became increasingly clear. Soon, the boy began to show inexplicable physical and psychological signs. His body was covered in scratches and cuts that appeared suddenly, often right in front of his family's eyes. Some reports claimed that entire words appeared carved into his skin, as if written from the inside out, leaving everyone in shock and fear. In addition, Roland began to have violent outbursts, accompanied by an unnatural strength that no one could restrain. His voice would suddenly change, taking on a deep, guttural tone, completely different from his normal one. These transformations became so terrifying that the family sought medical help, taking him to psychologists and psychiatrists, but no professional could provide a plausible explanation. As medicine failed, the atmosphere inside the house grew increasingly suffocating. Nights were filled with groans, flying objects, and the boy falling into trances. It was impossible to ignore. Something beyond human comprehension was taking place. With no alternatives left, Roland's parents turned to the church, desperately begging for help. Jesuit priests were summoned and quickly realized they would face one of the greatest challenges of their lives. The first attempts at prayer triggered unexplainable phenomena. Furniture levitated before their eyes. Crucifixes were hurled against the walls, and the boy, in a complete trance, screamed insults and blasphemies in ancient languages he had never learned. The case was soon classified as a possible demonic possession, and the religious leaders decided to begin a full exorcism ritual. The ceremony, carried out in secrecy, involved several priests over the course of weeks, and was documented in diaries that later became essential evidence ensuring the case would not be dismissed as mere legend. During the sessions, Roland was tied to his bed, as his inhuman strength allowed him to resist multiple adults at once. Even restrained, he thrashed, spit, cursed, and seemed fully aware that something evil was speaking through him. The descriptions of the exorcism are deeply disturbing. Witnesses claimed that holy water boiled upon touching his skin. Crucifixes seemed to twist inside the room, and multiple voices echoed, even though only the boy was present. In one of the most intense moments, priests reported that satanic symbols began to appear on his body as if burned into his flesh. Night after night, The prayers continued amid deafening screams and an atmosphere so heavy that even the most experienced clergyman admitted to feeling fear. The exorcism seemed endless. With each session, the entity controlling Roland grew stronger, mocking the priests, mimicking their voices, and even revealing intimate secrets it could not have known. The spiritual battle escalated to an extreme level, pushing the faith and determination of the exorcists to the absolute limit. Finally, after countless attempts and weeks of confrontation, something extraordinary happened. During one of the last sessions, as prayers were recited, Roland fell into a deep trance, and suddenly, a low, grave voice echoed through the room. That voice proclaimed it had been defeated and would depart, leaving the boy in peace. Moments later, Roland collapsed onto the bed, completely exhausted, but with a calm expression on his face, as if he had returned to himself. From that moment on, all phenomena ceased. There were no more marks, no more voices, no more attacks. The boy, who had been the center of one of the most terrifying cases in American history, was finally free. The Catholic Church kept the records of the exorcism secret for decades, but excerpts from the priest's diaries eventually surfaced, confirming chilling details. This episode became so impactful that it directly inspired the book and film The Exorcist, still considered the most famous works in horror history. The case of Roland remains surrounded by mystery. For some, it was undeniable proof of the existence of evil and the eternal struggle between invisible spiritual forces. For others, it was nothing more than an example of severe psychological disturbance interpreted through the lens of faith and fear. The truth has never been fully revealed. But one thing is certain. This exorcism forever changed how the United States perceives the supernatural, fueling decades of debates, theories, and above all, fear. To this day, many believe that Roland was truly possessed by something beyond human comprehension. Others insist it was nothing more than mass hysteria. But regardless of the explanation, the story of the exorcism of Roland lives on, captivating and terrifying those who hear it, and proving that when it comes to the unknown, nothing holds attention more than the fear of the invisible